Hi there, I'm Dani Henderson. Welcome back to my disclosure channel. We have two disclosure giants on stage at the moment. I'm going to do a very brief intro and let you know exactly what we're here to talk about. The man in the helmet is wearing a helmet to protect his identity. He has been in the military service. We salute you, JP. We're delighted that you're here today. And he is recently retired from the military service in America, but he has also been very much part of a much bigger adventure, shall we call it, and he has been to the moon. He has been to the moon of Ganymede, been to the lunar Earth moon. He has been to Mars, and he has been to many other places, deeply documented and proven. He's had proof, he's had support, and he's had permission from the higher ups in the American military, and he has a lot to share. Lois Green is my beautiful friend, also Tony Rodriguez. Tony was kidnapped by American military. He was also kidnapped and passed around a satanic occult situation. He has documented it. He has written on it. He is becoming more and more aware for his inventions, these science and technology that he witnessed off planet. He is bringing back and creating product. And these two guys are going to be accessible to you out there. You can't afford to come to a Galactic Spiritual Informers conference. Let me just share the logo here. This is what you will see, this logo, Galactic Spiritual Informers, GSIC, the beautiful caring hands holding the planet, my planet, your planet, our planet. These men will be at my next two Galactic Spiritual Informers, but they'll be on their own webinar on the 15th of February, a couple of days away, 15th of February. Tickets are $15 each, cheap as chips, and you will get to pose questions to the great JP and to the great Tony Rodriguez. We're going to start with JP. Welcome, my love. How are you today?
How you doing? Wait, let me take this off. I'm doing good. How you doing, Danny? I'm really excited to be here to share information, to share about the webinar, and also to share about different things that we might bring for GSIC and people over there in England. Um, it's going to be exciting, the information that we're going to bring, and I think everybody is going to connect with the information. And yeah, we're here for that to bring this beautiful love.
I love that. I love that you say to bring the beautiful love. You always speak of love so deeply, and it's such a core fundamental of who you are, despite everything you've witnessed and seen. You've definitely seen some of the best and most beautiful species and beauteous landscapes off planet. And for those of you, this is your first time, it's okay. Don't worry if it sounds ludicrous, because like us, like me, you were lied to, and these men were little boys. They were lied to too until they were actually taken and went to these amazing places in our solar system. So don't feel stupid. Don't feel like anyone's an idiot. No one's an idiot except the people that set the rules in the first place. And now that system's coming down. So here are two great men, two great leaders who actually physically have been to the places that we stay. JP, we're very excited to host you again at Galactic Spiritual Informers. You came out on stage for the first time September just gone, where we all witnessed a fleet of spacecraft. They were identified. We knew who was flying them. We knew the military faction they were from, off planet, Galactic Federation of Worlds. And the American military actually were also involved. So we proved that the good ETs work with the good military. And that's also what we're here to keep on proving, no matter what anybody says. We just move the dishonesty to the side and we keep marching forward. We'll come back to you in a minute, my love. Tony Rodriguez, Lois Green. Hello, mate. How are you?
Hi, Danny. I'm really good. I'm happy to be here. I love you guys. Every time we hang out, it's like family. We meet up at GSIC in person every year for the last 3 years, and it's like hanging out with family every time. It's like going back, and then we split up for a year, and we everybody goes in their own directions and produces. We do our work. We whatever it is. And we come back, and every year it's amazing. It's phenomenal. Like I come back and go, I can't believe your new book. I can't believe what you're doing. It's amazing. And my life has changed a lot because of it too. So um, I'm working on stuff that I know from up there and from what I know from down here from rubbing elbows with friends. And I've had a few setbacks that are, to be expected, and I've had some huge success. And recently, a lot of things that I'm working on are having had some technological breakthroughs. So happy to be here. I've been so busy in the last year and a half with doing that stuff that I do forget sometimes that I was in space. that I did work on a UFO for 12 years. And it's really nice. JP has agreed to, he's going to visit. And we got together and we said, well, let's do a webinar, man. Let's put something together, me and you. And we hung out a couple times. We were talking, and when it's just us, it was really JP is the one person that I've ever really had a nostalgic moment of talking about my time on series and what it was like up there. He said, on Ganymede, we were just casually talking, and it turned into a really big moment for me because he was real about it. He had real memories, and it was like we both kind of looked at each other and went, "Wow," um, because living down here, you forget that. I mean, not for him, he's been active, but for me, it was many years ago. I was a child when they took me, and they put me back to being a child. So it was a long time ago. For me, it's a distant memory, and for him, it's a fresh memory. And when we talk about it, to be validated in that way is just amazing. So we're going to do a webinar together. I've done remote viewing. I teach remote viewing, which is a huge success. Those classes are going great. I'm cranking out people that are doing excellent remote view, like professional quality remote viewing. And we remote viewed a couple of his exopolitics episodes, and it was really validating. I didn't know. I did the viewing. It was a blind target. So before I go on and on, I don't want to run on.
Well, you know, we could all three of us sit here and speak for the next year, probably without stopping, exchanging experiences, stories, information, backing up other friends of ours who stand on stage with us every year, also bringing their physical evidence and their receipts, like Dr. Michael Sala, who runs Exopolitics, which you just mentioned there, Tony. And JP, as a lot of you that watch now know, that JP and Dr. Sala come together very often. They've written many books together, cataloging JP's off-planet military missions around the world and in the solar system, including inner Earth, including the Grand Canyon and the Egyptian temples there that we've heard from other sources also, not just to put it all on JP, of course, but other sources have reported the monstrously massive Egyptian temples, and thus named as such with Egyptian names, in the Grand Canyon. And again, more information of what's hidden from us as a planet. The powers that think they be decide what the little people, that's us here on the screen and you guys watching mostly, that we're not worthy of knowing the amazing, joyous, incredible, things on our planet, adventures and treasures. And of course, that's all stopping because we're making sure of it. So JP, let's come to you in a second regarding the webinar that's coming up on Saturday, the 15th of February with Tony. What do you feel is going to be an area that you're happy and excited to share with people that paid a mere $15 to attend the webinar? What do you think is going to be coming up question-wise for you in particular?
How those certain information that Tony brung really matches on certain events that there was no way no other person would have known that information or what I'd done prior before going or what I did after. So he really hit the ball out of the stadium when he was talking this information. And this is a lot of people, I guess, don't believe in remote viewing, but if you study the science of it and how it works and you do the tactics of how to do it step by step, it's really, really real. And I think most people, when they get to learn or they start learning and doing it for the first time and they get it right, they're like, it's a sense of release that when you get something right, you're like, man, I knew it. This works. I knew that this information comes in waves and comes in frequencies and comes in different forms to your brain that is actually made of, you know, vibration of everything that we see. And past, present, and future coincides in one time. And you receive these information, you receive this data. And I think people are going to start doing this more, and a lot of maybe crime scenes or missions or a lot of things will be resolved when this techniques gets better, and it's going to get better. Every time you learn something new and you implement it, and then you just make it better. But there's people like that already mastered the technique, like Tony, and he just hits it out of the park, man. It's amazing, amazing to see that, and it's real. And people can confirm when they receive that information back.
Mm, mm. Yeah, it's amazing and it's so exciting. And the way that Tony Rodriguez in particular has really extended remote viewing, the techniques. And when you realized, Tony, that you were part of a military program, was it Grill Flame, was the psionic, the psychic, yeah, where they took a ton of children and physically tortured them for years, funded by the American government. You guys were kidnapped and held in the Inyo California airport in little mobile homes. And what's still staggering to me is the arrogance of such experiments, doctors involved, soldiers, military that have allowed these black programs, is that all these years later, 30, 40 years later, the cabins are still there on the land. That's how dim-witted and arrogant the military is. The negative military I'm talking about. Obviously, there's amazing military, of course there is, but those low-enders that like to hurt little ones, they're all their little cabins. So I'd love someone to go out and do some DNA testing on those if somebody can be bothered and really wants to do that. Maybe it's not necessary, but it's just an idea. Tony, your eyes are very wide there. What are you thinking, my
Well, I
love?
never thought of that. I never thought of DNA testing there because my DNA would be there on some, maybe on some regard. I don't know if I was ever, I don't know how that works, the limits of it, but I never thought of that like actual concrete proof. The
Yeah.
evidence that I came up with so far in my of going to Inyokern and then the paper trail of the projects, the dollars into the remote viewing and psychoenergetics research that they did, which was the original program that I was taken into when I was 10, um, is a lot of evidence. So nobody has challenged me directly since I've come out with my book Beyond Sight and since I've talked about the evidence. Absolutely not one person has challenged me. And the thing is, if my evidence stands, then that also proves the 20 and back because my mother and my family, my father and my sister, my cousins, my school, I never left. I was in Michigan as well from April of 82 till December of 82. So I have witnesses that I was there, and I was also in Inyokern, and I correctly identified that. So if that evidence stands, that means the 20 and back stands, the alien stands, the colonies in the solar system stand. All of it stands on the shoulder of that. So nobody has to question that. And nothing but evidence has ever come every time like I said, every time I investigate Inyokern, it gets substantiated. Uh,
Yeah.
I gotta.
Well,
It's Bless you. You both, again, the remote viewing element is so important. And Tony has said many, many times the different layers and levels of protocol. But because as a child you were indoctrinated into this, because you were already chosen from a school program, you were in a gifted program, you already had these incredible abilities as a little tiny boy. And then they were further tested your metaphysical experience, your value, your what you could get to. They take you to near-death experiences, push you into that, psionic realm, whatever you want to call it, and keep bringing you guys and the other children back to life. And it extended and expanded your remote viewing ability. And then you come back and you're now fully invested in it. And you get the odd person, that says, "I remote viewed this place." I'm like, "Honey, put your bottle down, put your box of wine down, go back and watch Jeopardy." Because they come in and you get them, these bampot chicks, that I remote viewed this. I saw that. No, you didn't, lovely. You were hallucinating. Sit down. It gets a bit silly. So, we're looking for what we call a yardstick. We're looking for a sensible measurement. I'm far more inclined to trust someone like you, JP, and you, Tony, for your actual ability because you've proven, very different things. Now, again, you mentioned earlier Dr. Michael Sala's exopolitics, and that you had did a recent remote view, Tony. Would you like to share that with us and
Yes.
set it up for how did it even involve JP? What is the setup to get
So
to this?
I'm trying to start a YouTube channel. So I've always been behind the paywall of Patreon. After in 2019 and 2020, I really got the cancel thing started happening. I had hundreds of YouTube videos that got deleted. So I went under a paywall into Patreon. And as a result, I have a small dedicated audience of great people that follow me and do all my social media. But I don't have a following. I don't really don't have a presence on YouTube or out there or people that have access to my my testimony. So I thought I'm going to start a YouTube channel and it's called Remote Viewing Collective and I'm just wanted to make content for it. So I did a single blind. It was a single blind target, so we're being really scrutinous. A double blind is the better one. But it doesn't matter when you get accurate data that you didn't know about. But I did a single blind target, and my targeteer, a guy named Adrian Solomon's kind of my remote viewing right-hand man. He created the target, and he's a real fan of exopolitics, so he watches all the episodes. And we take turns. I create targets for him, and he remote views them, and we record it, and he does them for me. And in this particular one, I did a remote viewing session, and it was the episode where about cylindrical craft, about submarines that JP was taken from his mom's house by beings and went underground and saw these cylindrical craft. And that was the target. And the first part of it, I got really substantial data, really strong hits. But it went off into another realm that even JP, and I showed JP, I was in I even got it. I said, this is JP in this target. Like I actually hit the target right on the head. And I
Big
was in a
Tizzle.
unique position to get a hold of him. I messaged him and said, "Man, you got to see. I need you to confirm this." The big thing for me, which people don't understand, I described like a mushroom, like a child, like in the beginning of the viewing, setting, and it was a big mushroom thing, but it turned out to be, yeah. If I'm gonna do a quick screen share, if that's okay,
Go ahead, my love.
I want to show some of this. So here in the video, I was describing this like a structure. Like this was a big metal structure. There were kids. It was a playground element. And I described a hallway where he was walking. I saw the subject matter. And I went through that. And then when I got a hold of JP and we went over it, he said, no, I was at the mall. That's what it was. He's like, that's where I was standing. I was thinking I was describing his experience a couple days after he had been taken. And so that was like real confirmation. It blew me away that that happened. And
Yeah, that was amazing.
that for me, that was because it was strong. It was pronounced. I said, this guy is nervous. He just saw something. That was the beginning of the data. I said, I got a male, biological, and there may be a female and some kids, and they're near this thing, and he's holding on to something that he has to tell people, but he's scared about it right now. He's spooked. And it was the
Can
emotional
I
piece.
interrupt? Can I interrupt you for 1 second? I just want to make it clear to anyone watching that's never heard of remote viewing or RV, not to be confused with the reset, which is also known as the RV. This is remote viewing. That you, Tony, don't know anything. Your colleague has given you an envelope with a piece of paper in it with a bunch of numbers that mean nothing.
That's
So
right.
what he's done is your colleague has captured a thought, a decision, an electromagnetic existence, made it into numbers and given you the numbers, and all you've done is look at the numbers, and that's all you've done. Is that correct or not?
That's absolutely right. And the target itself could be anything. It could be a micro object, an insect, a planet, a monument, a sporting event. It could be anything. So it's not like I just go in one direction. And through the hour of that remote viewing, it was clearly somebody involved with the military that had seen things. And then it led me to advanced underwater technology, like a hyper advanced underwater cylinder, like a submarine and another base. And I got out in the Indian Ocean was where I ended up with that, but it seemed to be things that he was involved with in the past. And we'll break it down. That video's still in edit. It will go on Remote Viewing Collective, and discuss it in the webinar. I think that'll be a lot of fun to break down. I guess I'll write some questions for you, JP, about it too. Um,
Roger.
But yeah, I had no idea. It was a single blind target. Adrian made the target and then gave me the coordinates. I had no clue on what it could have been. It could have been anything for that matter.
Amazing. JP, do you want to give us a little bit of that actual physical experience that you experienced that then Tony RV'd?
Yeah, yeah. When I went to Tampa and I visited my mom, in the middle of the night, I got picked up by these two people, but they look different. They look like I could say like their face were a little bit pale. They were different. Um, they were just
How did they
different.
how did they pick you up though, mate? How did that happen?
They picked me up like in the vehicle,
Yeah,
and
but where were you? Time-wise, like what happened? Set the whole situation up for us.
okay, I was in my mom's house, middle of the night. I hear somebody parking outside. I open the door. I'm always checking out what's happening. Middle of the Tampa, Florida. It's really populated. So I see a car parked, and I say, "Hey, you guys are looking for something? What's going on?" So they're like, "Yeah, we're looking for you." Um, Jump to the back, and he just tilted his head. So I knew. Um, I don't know. It's just you just know when you're gonna do something and you're gonna do a mission, or they're gonna take you to a place. So I was without a shirt or nothing. So I entered into the vehicle, and first I was like arguing with him, trying to see, what we were doing or what was going to happen. He's like, just get the F in and just come on. And I'm like, all right. So I'm always like, not, I'm not saying that I'm soft, but I'm like, I'm easygoing when it comes to situations like this. So, you're always at edge, but you know what to expect after when they bite you. And they gave me a shirt, and I was like, am I gonna wear this? And they took me to this location, and I went to this building near the base. It's not in McDill Air Force Base. It's right next to it, outside from the base, but underground, the base can be this big, right? But underground, it can spread out like a tree, like it's really spread out. So underground, there's probably things going on that people don't know throughout the city of Tampa Bay. On however it's connected to the base. So they took us to this room, and we went through a type of security. They took my information away. You got to put your stuff in a box, your phone, everything before going to these types of buildings. And it was a building that opens up when you go inside. It looks like a warehouse type of building. But I noticed that in the end there was like a ramp and there was like stairs that goes down. And the guy was like, follow us.
And there was
And
just
so we went down and we saw these beautiful, beautiful crafts that looked like a submarine, but they were a little bit longer than a submarine, and they were glowing. And I'm asking, like, hey, why am I here? Like, what's going on? He's like, we're just here to show you that these ships are the ones that are gonna start flying around. And they're gonna start upgrading to bigger ships. But these ships, are gonna start flying around and picking up random people, random people that have a certain vibration, and we're gonna share information as well with them about what these ships are about, and not necessarily on the United States soil, but in different parts of South America and Europe. So after this update, it was so interesting, so exciting that São Paulo, Brazil, these ships started flying, cylindrical ships started flying, and it confirmed the that episode I did with Dr. Sala. So it was, yeah, it was. They're
Brilliant.
amazing. They're amazing. Is an amazing technology. I would give you more information, but
I know it's restricted, of course, and also, and with
not
all due
not
respect,
restricted. It just sometimes um I just have to be careful in wording certain things. So
no, we
yeah.
appreciate that, and we appreciate that it's Dr. Michael Sala. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have known who you are because he's the one that's safely introduced to, and you and he have your own respectful protocols, which I'm respecting, and there's a pecking order, and I'm not at the top of it. It's fine. I know my place. Dr. Sala, we love you. Just very briefly on the submarine shape, the cylindrical cigar shape, some people call it. Some of these ships are actually carrier ships. Some of these ships, very, very long, they'll actually release some of the smaller scout ships. A lot of people know that, some people don't, but they're not all the same. Tony, when you were on series, you were working on a former submarine that probably been Earth-based. It's now in another star system, and they're using it and they're flying around in it. So we've got this kind of mixed media of mechanics and electrics and shapes that different planets are using between themselves in our solar system, don't we, boys? Carry on. What else can we say to that? We are coming back to your video, Danny, but just go ahead and fill our friends in on a bit more, please.
On the Ceres colony, that was one of the ships that I worked on, and I believe it was two submarines kind of stuck together. With the In 2015, I worked with Dr. Sala. I told him my testimony, and he researched me. And one of the things I said was it was a converted submarine. He moved on to other uh, experiencers, other witnesses. And when he got to William Tompkins, who had a great deal of documentation and a lot of validation, said that they used submarines that were converted. And I was the first one to say that. And so it validated me, and he came back to me, and that's how I got on, that did my first interview with Dr. Sala as well. And that kind of began my public testimony. But it was because I remembered I was maintenance worker on a submarine. And it makes sense. Early on, they got the technology, and the submarine shells were already built and could withstand the pressures in space. So it was easy to convert them into craft anti-grav. And the early ones were the one that I was on was kind of archaic. It was a mixture of high tech and low technology. And it was decommissioned, and I ended up working on a newer craft at the end of my time. But that is absolutely what they are. It's easy to make a spaceship out of a submarine. It's something that has everything it needs to be in a vacuum. And it was a validating thing. I want to say that MacDill Airport, MacDill Air Force Base keeps coming up. We also did a remote viewing last year about the craft that flew over the Galactic Spiritual Informers connection in Denver. So we see other conferences are now like, hey, the aliens are going to show up, and they have all these graphics like they're going to get visited, and it's a farce because you are the only one that brought in a real fleet. Everybody wants to say that they can do a CE-5, and anybody can summon a light to pop up in the sky 10 miles away. But this was something different. We had fleet of ships buzzing 1,000 people outside at the Skywatch for 30 minutes with a triangle. And so we did a remote viewing about that. And in the remote viewing, the question was who was in the ships? Who'd they come from? And in the question of the triangle, the remote viewing, I got that it was pouring rain. I said it's taking off and it's pouring rain. There's a wicked storm. And at that time, at that moment, I want to show you this. I have it paused off this. I was looking this up while you were talking, JP, about MacDill. At the time, I looked at the exact time of the flyby, and during that time, there was only one place really that it was pouring rain in the United States, and it was McDill. So this was the area, and you look right there, it was the worst of the storm, and this was at that time. This was the weather with the weather report from that time. And so I said there, and then there were canisters um, nearby Foster's Field. We went and looked at. There were other things, canisters that I had landmarks, and I don't know if they're in here or not. Uh, but there were other landmarks that led me to believe that it was a MacDill Air Force Base. Like it was out of the data from that remote viewing, it was conclusive. And then here we are again. So we're right back at it again with these underground craft that are going to be flying around that we're going to see that are going to be they are disclosing, and it looks like, dare I say anything political, it looks like there's a real cleaning of house going on right now in the world in
Wow.
general. And so this is obviously a birth pain for a post-disclosure event. And it looks like that's happening. So it's an honor to know you guys and to tell my testimony at this point. Like, I just wanted to add it to the record and say that, hey, these guys, these other guys that are telling you are right because I saw it too. And I didn't know that it was going to turn into what it is now, where we're still, up here doing this. We've seen a lot of people that are maybe credible witnesses that have come forward and blessed their souls. But a lot of them have turned it into something unprofessional, and it's really scaring people away. A lot of people
Yeah.
are turning disclosure into wrestling, WWE cosplay, and the story never ends. It's just a new timeline. It's an altar, one of my 5 billion altars. And so we have all these unbelievable, sensational stories that have really detracted away because people are not vetting themselves anymore. A hypnosis session is just not enough to go on stage and convince the normals that that's what's going on. And we have false information coming in. We have letter agencies coming in over the last, where are we at here? It's 2025. It's been 10 years. 10 years ago, I got my memories back and I began researching and talking about my experience. It's been a decade that I've been doing this. And I've watched it go from something that caught the world off guard with actual information to Hollywood stepping in and trying to cover it up, to the letter agencies stepping in and covering up, to false conferences popping up and dissipating, and a myriad of people that may have the best intentions in the world, but just don't have enough to convince somebody that's skeptical, and if they're clouded up the water of disclosure right now. So, and I expect it. It's to be expected because that way they can generate any lie they want and they can just pick and these people are right and these people now these experts keep coming out on the news and things. But the reality is that we've been vetted and we have bounced our information and testimonies that stand the test of time, which JP, you've been an insider since when? 2000 and long time ago, long before me.
Yeah.
So the time is the best thing. Time is the greatest lie detector, and we're seeing it. We've seen it play out over those last 10 years a lot. And so, Danny, what you've put together with GSIC is one of the best resources of that. And like I said, I never want to take away and say somebody else is lying or false unless I'm 100% sure. But I think a lot of people have the intention of helping, and they want attention, and mistakenly cloud up the waters with near false data. And so that's where we're at right now. We've seen a lot of it, and there has to be a reality. You have to be able to tell somebody that knows nothing from A to B, from A to Z, what's going on. And it's a lot of people just jump right into, I have an altar in the Altair star system, and we're at war with these giant beetles. And it's like, how'd that happen? So that's what's happening.
Tony, I don't know if this is happening to you guys, but I just came back from New York, right? And it's getting so crazy. Right next to me, a reporter sat down right next to me and she started like talking to me. And I'm like, why is this lady talking to me so much? I love people and all that, but I don't know. We're asking me questions about UFOs and all that. And she looks at me and then she asks me, are you JP?" And I just froze. I froze, but I'm getting reporters out of nowhere finding me. And not too long ago, I think she was from, I don't know if it was Fox, but I don't know how she got my information. But she was asking me questions, and I had to like, I told her, "Hey, I, I, we're flying, and like 1 hour into the flight, I told her, hey, if I have to give you my DD-214, or if have to give you videos and all that to prove, I'll do it. But for now, I'm just gonna stay, you know, in my lane because
Yeah.
they're starting to approach us right now and ask questions in order to go even more mainstream and all that. And in order for me to do that, I know my helmet has to come out someday. It has to come out and my face will be revealed to everybody and all that. But it's it's getting to that point that, like you're saying, Tony, like the look what's happening with Doge. When Doge finds out, right, that all that money that was filtering out, that they're finding already, probably went to that same project that they took you, or evil things that they did with that money. And it's coming. It's coming to light. And people are getting ready to feel that, to feel that pressure of the truth of what's really, really happening to us. And we do have people that muddy the waters and bring information that is false just to confuse people. But as doing this so long, and I speak also about, people like Alex Kalir, Tony, Dr. Sala, other people, like David Adair, um, that sometimes you just get tired, and sometimes you just want to bring the love and bring the information. And whoever wants to research it, they can research it. Whoever wants to go deep in it, they can go deep in it. But I think there's a lot of drama in this in this community of truthers, and I think as humans, I think this should stop. As humans, we should just bring the love. I know there can be a lot of haters out there when you bring information. There's a lot of haters out there, but that's always going to happen. That happens when you get a new job. That happens when you do something new, and people are around you and they want a piece of the pie. You know, but like Tony said, time will tell when this information comes out, and it's coming out. It's coming out. We're living the golden age, and like I said
Yeah.
before in your last show, Dani, this is the golden age, and gold has to be purified in order to be good.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, no, everything's coming out. Yeah, exactly. Everything's coming out. The fact is that we have the technology we have that's been repressed since 1897 minimum, and that was thanks to Nikola Tesla, who was a Venusian, and that more of that's coming out. And obviously his technology was repressed. We would have easily been a minimum 100 years advanced in our technology. We've proven that 1,000 times. We started with off-planet technology. We're continuing with it. You guys are working with it, off-planet technology, both of you. You're both inventors. There's other things coming out down the road that way too. But for right now, let's take a step back to the RV, the remote view that Tony did, your blind target that was handed to you, a bunch of letters when you picked up on our brother in the screen here. Please, the floor is yours, my love.
Um, Thanks. Well, firstly, that was mind-blowing to think about gold has to be purified, and that makes a lot of sense. That's like exactly where we're at. Um, and then you watch things are moving so fast right now. I said this to my viewers. I said, right now remote viewing is really it's really a good time to be a remote viewer because there's so many targets to look at because the world is changing daily. Um,
Yeah.
change change my view here. The world is changing so fast, and there's so much going on that it's a target-rich environment. But this one I queued in originally on, like I said, that merry-go-round was the first hit I got, and then I saw a male biological with a woman, and it was walking, and I thought it was a playground. There were children. It was a playground, and I described that, and then I saw that he was hiding something. He had something heavy on his mind, and then he was spooked, and then it went to a well, I mean, we can get into this, JP. I hadn't even really thought of this because this is so X amount of remote viewings ago and targets ago that I did this. It was, a month. But this was the first one where I had contact from an extraterrestrial, a non-human biological that was involved with the remote viewing as well. It was a non-human biological that was remote viewing the target subject matter at the same time. And we saw each other. Like in that space, you can interact. And we've seen this in many, many remote viewing sessions. Some of the remote viewing schools really frown on ET involvement because everything's an ET, right? And some of them really embrace it and kind of go all in on the ET involvement and say, we're talking to ETs and this is what's up. Only watch me. But what's true is that this is an ability. This is what humanity is going to move into. Remote viewing is we are all remote viewing all the time anyway. You are. You're remote viewing through your day. What should I do? If you have ever felt compelled to do something that turned out to be the right choice for you, man, I'm glad I did that. You remote viewed it. It's the same mechanism it's the same science. It's the same mechanism that leads you to make correct decisions. Your
Mhm.
intuition is connected to outside of time space, if you will, and it's connected to part of consciousness that's yours, that is your higher consciousness. Um, so we're all doing it all the time anyway. The ETs do it. It's just an ability, the same as having a telescope, the same as having a speaker that you can hear far away or binoculars. It makes the same sense for any organization to have remote viewers. And let me tell you, a lot of people don't know this, but our financial institutions, the banks, the corporations, they employ remote viewers. So if you ever wondered how do they always get their pick right? How does Warren Buffett always got it right? And I'm not saying he does directly. I'm using him as an example of success. But you look at some of these people that have this track record, and there are remote viewers employed. Uh, Forget where I was going after that, but it works. That's the thing is this ability works, and ETs are using it as well. And during the remote viewing, I got goosebumps. I said, "Whoa, this is a non-human biological. What's going on here, Adrian?" Because he was live monitoring the session with me. I said, "Adrian, what's going on? This is a non what is happening?" And it took me away from the target, which was JP in that experience, to where the biological was, and there was an interaction. I got head to toe goosebumps, the worst I've ever got. And I was like, oh God, it'll be in the video when I release it. I haven't put any shorts out about it, but it was a definite ET interaction, and he was checking to see what he could do about it. And they were worried about the ships. So there was something going. So what they were remote viewing, I keyed in on. So kind of left JP. I remote viewed JP the day of the target or right soon after the target when he was thinking about the update and he was kind of processing it. And then an ET that was remote viewing him from somewhere very far away. I don't know where, but very, very far, not on the Earth, not on the moon. And went there and then saw what he was remote viewing, and it was military craft, naval craft, and then eventually to one of these cigar-shaped submarines that was extremely advanced and um, seemingly seemingly working for a non-government entity, so like a private contractor group, like an
Right.
SSP organization that had this thing, and it was extremely advanced. So that was led me to the target, and I went back. I said, "Is this JP?" Because I also saw him getting spooked after he got done. JP, so let me know I also in the viewing saw you like after they took you and they put you back that you went home and loaded your guns. You were spooked that you were that you didn't know what to that you had a moment of being spooked. You went home and locked and loaded and were ready for you didn't know what was going to happen next. Is that
Yeah, it's
correct?
just sometimes these characters they can be nuts sometimes, because they go through so much. The security high level dudes, they go through so much that they just flip sometimes, and you just have to be careful. They could be good, bringing you to these locations and showing you this and all that, but you don't know what's going through their heads, and they could pick you up in a helicopter, drop you off, and give you concrete feet in the middle of the Gulf of America. So,
They
um,
wouldn't take that chance though, mate. They wouldn't take that chance because the ETs that watch over you two, and that's the thing. Sorry to interrupt, but I want to make it clear. We're not, this isn't La La Land. This isn't fantasy. It's not meditation. It's not, wannabe, would be. It's not on drugs. You physically have as you guys, as have I. And I can tell you that that you, JP, and you, Tony Rodriguez, have a team of ETs that look over you and that protect you. So no earthling and no hybrid is going to mess with you two. You are warriors and messengers of disclosure. That's what you're doing. So you're not going to
yeah,
be
yeah,
interfered. You get the odd nut job, don't you, JP?
yeah. I agree. I agree that we're protected, but I never stop to be, lock and loaded just in case something does go down. I know there's always good people protecting you and looking after you and all that, but you do have those insane characters that come out of nowhere from a different timeline and just try to disrupt everything and to erase everything. So yeah, we do have to be careful. Protection is there, but we do have to be um, careful. I had a dream last night. I don't know if I can share it with you guys, but um, I was hearing a voice telling me to be careful what you eat. Be careful what you eat. Be careful what you eat. Like, if you go to the restaurants, if you go to the places, just be careful what you eat, what you ingest. I don't know if that was for me directly, but I got that message last night, and I'm just sharing it now here. So people out there that are probably going through experiences or have been through a experience that changed their life or know about certain technology that they know that can affect humanity in a good way, or they have certain information that they only know and they only hold in their brains. um to be careful, just be careful what you eat. These things that we're eating right now, it can really, really harm um, the the talents that are within that can grow into like a remote viewer or to summon ET ships. Uh, it can really damage your brain and your body. Or be careful. There's bad people. There's bad characters out there. And yes, Dani, we are protected, but it's not bringing fear porn. It's just we have to be, you know, protected in our own self, in our own mind before something does happen.
I,
I
Yeah.
don't know how
And I
you
think
guys feel that, but that's it's just me being trained as a soldier. You're always prepared to be prepared and to be lock and loaded. So
um,
it's
I,
just it's just the training, the triggers and all that. So
I think at this stage, especially those of us that aren't military and that haven't signed NDAs or MSAs, that it's time to bring information out. Stop waiting to be famous on one story because so many people do that. Don't wait to finish your book or your website. Just get information out because the more of us that talk and share, the less there's going to be a chance of shutting information down because now The negative side is running for the hills. They've lost all the positions. All the things that were guarded no longer are, hence Doge, let's say. And now is the time to release with proof, with receipts, information, and do it with your heart, like with the humility to help humanity. That's why we're doing this. That's what we do. So Tony, are we going to play that video you started showing us, or is that just for our private chat?
I just have a little one. Well, I have the clip I'll share at the end. It's got some curse words in it. I'll play that one. But the big long one is still kind of unedited. I mean, I could show some of it, but it's just kind of chunky. We do it in virtual reality. So it's a 3D space that you can draw what you're seeing and then kind of shrink yourself down and go inside of it and continue viewing. It's a big help to do that. It's amazing. Versus doing it on a pad and paper. So like when you remote view a place, you can say, I see a building, I see a red brick house, and you draw it out. And then you can physically, well, not physically, but in the virtual space, you can shrink yourself down and go inside the thing that you just drew and probe that. And it's really a great method of getting new data. And it works great. So it's a little messy. I got some of the video queued up. I'm not
And
sure.
Dani, when you look at it, you get goosebumps because like you see him zooming into the room, and you're like, holy crap! You even feel goosebumps looking through the video on this because you feel the energy. I think he was feeling the energy of these guys that I think were like not psychics but remote viewers also under the boat, the bottom
Yes,
portion of the
yes.
boat, and I felt goosebumps when he was talking about it because that's how they do. They mingle around, they joke around, but they're working at the same time, doing what they need to do. So I'm like, wow, that's insane. That's awesome. That you can feel
Wow.
the energy through the video when he's explaining, and you start like also where I felt the goosebumps too when you started talking about the ET, Tony.
I, I have that
Um,
part queued up I could share. I mean,
yeah,
it's
Yeah.
just me
that's
drawing it. It's in its raw form. So usually I like to put up pictures in it. So this is just the raw live session that I was recording in my helmet. The other thing is Adrian records another perspective from his, so it looks better. So I apologize for the quality. I'll do the share, and we'll see how that goes. So um, see where this goes. It's right here that I discovered the ET, the non-human biological.
P2550W1112.
There's the mushroom thing, the merry-go-round.
yeah. That was
P2550W1112.
So this isn't a great player for me to skip
I see a gun.
there.
I see a rifle gun.
So I was shocked when this
Ooh.
happened.
Whoa, Adrian, what is this target, bro?
Here it is.
I see this fella. That is an ET biological. I see an extraterrestrial biological. Strongly looking back. I just have his attention. Fuck you. You need to lighten up. Whoa, I'm getting goosebumps. I'm like covered in goosebumps right now. My whole legs, everything. Something's going on here.
This was in real time, so it was live. Like I found him.
Hang on, I gotta get away from this stuff.
And
well, that was the first one, right? Because the
yeah,
second
that was
one
when I
was
first
real.
You're on the
discovered him.
target 100%. Everything you said is the target. So just
Well, I still don't know what I still don't know anything about it.
This was in the
If you
very
want to take a
beginning.
break or if you want to
Here, buddy.
stop here, we got a lot of
No, I'm
data
in the middle
already.
of a remote
Let's
view.
see
Kiss
here.
me for good luck.
I'm gonna go here. And I kind of got out by a star. Sorry if this is, like I said, it's in its raw form.
Great distance.
So I saw an ET in a room with other ETs using technology to, in effect, remote view. And he saw me, encountered me, and he got up and went to a room next to where he was and asked permission to do something about it. And this was happening in real time. It was like as
Wow,
I
they're
was
an
remote viewing.
observation thing. This is an observation room. They have
So
computers
they're observing
and
remote
they're sitting
viewing. Is that
around
what
and they
you're
watch us.
Say that again, Danny.
So the ETs are remote viewing you, remote viewing the target.
They were remote
Okay.
viewing the ship that had the psychics, the submarines. There was an event going on in the ocean, and they were remote viewing the submarines. And because I was remote viewing JP, it led me to that. There was a cross of data, and so we ran kind of remote viewers ran into each other.
Brilliant.
And so I probed him. I said, "Who's, you know what I mean?" I wanted to know what's going on. So the viewing went to hit where he was, probably somewhere in space, far away. It was far away. Um,
Mhm.
and then the whole scene unfolded. So
This is security. It's a security system for ETs. And they're watching us. He's in there sorting it out. They're telling him to fuck off. They
sorry.
are. They're like, so what? That's the answer. He's getting brushed off. Go handle it.
He was remote viewing the ship.
This is security.
They said, "Don't worry about this guy. Worry
Okay.
about the ship."
Well-
That was the deal. He was on target.
Let's go back to this boat.
Um,
Is my biological...
let's see. I kind of don't know where it goes from there, so I don't want to just let it play willy-nilly. But that part, when I first went, whoa, that was a very unique sensation during a remote viewing session. For the people that I teach, we always keep the targets away from extraterrestrial targets, right? We always keep the targets away. We do something simple like, the Lakers basketball game or the Indy 500 or something like that, something kind of mundane. There's not going to be anything happening. And so this one we did JP was the subject matter. And for these, that's why we experiment with the more aggressive targets. We do some other things. So this one turned out to cross paths with an ET remote viewer, and it was very significant. And it was fortuitous that I know JP and I could get him, and we watched this video, and he could confirm or deny anything that was right or wrong about it. And there were a few things, like I said, the mall and the merry-go-round, and then the guns, like the spook, like his emotional state during it really was confirming, where I was blown away by it.
Brilliant. That's great. Thanks, Tony. It's so nice to show how you, as a long-term remote viewer from a little boy, how you've progressed, but how you actually do it now. So there's not like you've been trained by a military or trained by a teacher. This has come naturally to you and it's been perfected by you. And a lot of people are actually following your protocol. I've also attended one of your master classes that you offer. People are like, how do I find out who I am? How do I progress? How do I do my healing? You're offering all of that because of the long-term journey that you've been on. And I love the idea that you guys are getting together, that you're doing your webinar. Again, it's the 15th of February, guys. You got to get your tickets. They are as cheap as bananas, $15. That's nothing to get these two masters in a masterclass, a Q&A, because if you can't get the funds together to see them on stage at AGISIC, a Galactic Expression Formers, either in England, May 10th and 11th, where we are expecting another fleet of spacecraft. We're going to ask JP to call on the doors of his Nordic friends, etc., and invite them to do a flyover in England. There are other personnel also connecting to try and create a beautiful, real, in-person, real-time physical show. We don't need permission from any governments, any militaries. They've got nothing to do. And it's another way of proving that the humans on the planet, they're not the ones in charge. You know, there's a much bigger home that each human belongs to, because there are people that look just like me, just like JP without the helmet, and just like Tony out there, all different shapes. And that's what we're bringing to the fore. So don't worry about authority, guys. I certainly never do, which is great, because a lot of people that in our team are, some are restricted, like you, JP. You have to be careful what you say. But you know, I'm the gobby bird. I'm the Tasmanian devil, like I said the other day, with all you humble, beautiful masters of frequency and energy. So that's great. So, Tony, what can people know to expect in terms of where they can go with their Q&A? Is it going to be private? Do they have to be, are you going to be restricted, you know, in what people can ask you guys
We're
at your
still sorting that
webinar?
out. We're going to do a test run with it later this week. It's my first one. I always go through Patreon through the Zoom medium, and so this is a crowdcast thing. So I'm learning about. We are going to have a Q&A. People will be able to put it in the chat, and we'll pick questions. I'm guessing that's how it's going to work, and they always turn out great. Q&As, live Q&As turn out great. The worst thing that can happen is you say, I don't know. You know, people ask you, or you know, even inappropriate questions once in a while, but there's really not. If people are there genuinely, if you're going to take the time out of your day and pay some money and log in, all those people are very serious and very dedicated to finding out a truth. And so they come up with great questions. And when you're real, there's no script. I've always not had a script. I don't tell people. I've had people been on shows before. They go, "Do you want us to send you the questions we're going to ask?" And I thought, why? I'm not rehearsing this. It's easy. It's easy to come up with the answers because I'm in fact real about what I experienced, and so is he. And so any
Yeah.
question is fine. You know, like I said, the very worst thing that happens is I don't know, or I can't say that's still classified. I could endanger somebody or myself. And there are things that people ask me sometimes and I can't answer. And, you know, and third parties that need to keep their dignity as well. But so these are always great. And once you get into these questions that are completely unexpected, you really uncover things that you had never thought about before. So
Oh yeah.
um, I would like to sit and ask questions too. Like I've got questions to ask him during the webinar too that I'm going to have, and hopefully vice versa. We're seeing disclosure happen, not in a easy commercially branded way that's easy to see. We're seeing disclosure happen. We're seeing people that don't want it to happen have light shed on the crappy stuff they've been doing all along, and all the paper, always follow the money, is held true, right? So that's what I did when I researched for my book Beyond Sight, and it uncovered a lot of the remote viewing stuff. And follow the money is held true, and that's what we're seeing right now. Is the money is being sorted out pre-disclosure of who's who, and who wants it to happen and who wants it to not happen, and that's really going on right now in front of our eyes, and it's glorious. It's biblical where we're at right now. So our accounts and testimonies are, in my opinion, more important than ever, because the fake story they're going to give us needs to be held to a standard. So JP's story, we haven't even talked about any of the arcs or any of that action or any of the underground species and races that are here, the underground ETs, the underground humans. They've been monkeying with us all along. You know, like they're part of this, they're part of the system. And their technology is everywhere. When you really look, you can see their technology among us. There's influential technology in our major cities that is ancient and very advanced. And so that marries up with JP's testimony. Like all these testimonies have to make sense. They have to live together in the same room to be real, right? You can't have a testimony that doesn't make sense with anybody else's testimony. They all have to be real. And you can't say, oh, well, I was in another timeline. On another timeline, I'm like the Commander Zorg of the solar system, and I saved everybody. It's me. So just so you know, I'm also was a pharaoh. So you can't, that doesn't make sense. So all the testimonies have to live in the same room to make sense, like science does. And so we see that with GSIC, with us. We see that with us. We see it with a lot of people that are still putting it together. And so it's a real deal. It's the real deal. The space programs have been going on, and we're going to get a disclosure. Life's going to change for people fast. Sorry, I feel like I'm doing a commercial.
No, it's great. I love it. JP, what are some of the things that you are excited to talk about in this webinar?
I'm going to talk about how collaboration really helps disclosure and how this information tagged along because, we're going to get more in depth in how this remote viewing happened. And I think, yeah, the Q&As, people can ask any question. If we can't answer, we can't answer. But when I think the good thing is the good thing about this is that this can also be a key of awakening other people that have been going through experiences. That yes, there's people out there that have the technique to view your experience and confirm that your experience did happen. Confirm that you interacted with these beings, confirm that these beings are communicating with us or trying to interact and crisscross data, and you figure out that there's other beings interacting with your remote viewing but why they're doing it. So it's like a forensics. It's amazing how remote viewing is. And I think people are gonna be exciting. It's gonna be exciting. I think this webinar is gonna be exciting about the information that Tony's gonna bring, and yeah, that we're gonna bring to the public. Because, if you go through history and you read the CIA files or how they do techniques, this technique is real. And like he said, there's people that use remote viewers to find out about the future of the company, the future of there's even rich dads that pay a remote viewer to see which person is going to marry his daughter. It's the science, the technique is there. And that's what I think we're going to let people know that, yeah, this is true and this is real. And this is being used by the governments around the world and by ETs and by inner earth people. And everybody's communicated, everybody's connected in one mind. Everything is connected as if everything's happening at once. So it's going to be good information. And I think people are going to open their eyes a little bit more on what is remote viewing or summoning techniques to bring certain types of UFOs.
The CE5 stuff.
I
know a lot of
CE5,
people.
Tony, sorry to interrupt you. CE5, that's only what that bloke, that Greer bloke. Okay, that's his name for remote viewing, CE5. It reminds me of the Sinclair 5. Do you remember that? That little remote car, this little Englishman, someone Sinclair from the Sinclair family, made up this little three-wheeler little car. It was going to revolutionize the car industry, electricity. This is in the 70s. But anyway, CE5 is, Greer, he's over there. He's on his own. He's on his own disclosure.
It's
He
an
does it. He's
agenda.
on. Whereas the rest of the world, we don't need to label it that. That's just a Greer thing. But we can summon, we can call in, like you said, it's not difficult to call in a craft or an orb, a plasmoid. It doesn't really matter. That's easy. Anyone can sit outside and look up at the stars and just communicate with their heart. That's not difficult. And I encourage everyone to do it now. The Mitra aren't hanging around. The Naboo aren't hanging around waiting to abduct humans as they were before. So it's a lot safer. But yes, it's encouraging for people to know that they have all this ability. But then you get some people that go, oh my God, I had an experience and now I'm the God of everything. And like you were saying, we remember some of the idiots that stepped out saying, I'm in charge of all the fleets. They answer to me. Really, Poppet, go and have a lie down, mate. You're embarrassing yourself. I've been to Aries Prime. How do you know about it? I read Tony's book. I mean, Tony read my book. What book? The one in my head. It's just they're living in La La Land. La La Land. And now those in La Laville, now you got to walk the talk, you got to keep on moving forward. And it's men like you that stand the test of time. You've been around forever. You've been out there. You're one of the firsts, both of you, two of the first, let's say, who are doing this. Tony, what do you want to say?
Well, I just wanted to tell JP that I know for a fact a lot of people in my audience that are saying they're going to go to the webinar have been dying to ask you questions. And so they're always, I get it all the time, because I brag about knowing you. I'm like kind of a fan. And so I get it all the time. Can you ask him this? Can you ask him that? And I'm like, yeah, maybe if I think about it. But I'm not like that. So I know a lot of people are dying to get some questions to you. I have a feeling we'll talk about the arcs. You're going to get a lot of arc questions.
Yeah,
The
I
arcs are
always get art.
difficult to remote view as well.
Yeah, they have a protective membrane that protects remote viewers to uh, remote view. It's just their existence. It's really hard. You really have to physically go to the arcs, so in order to feel the inside interior part of the arc and connect with it. I think it has like a membrane that protects it from, similar to a tinfoil hat. I think the arcs have a type of technology like that protects it. But some people, if they're good enough, they can break through the eggshell of the arc and really remote view inside the arc if their techniques are really good and they're really advanced on how they do remote viewing. I'm sure they can crack the membrane of the protective shield that the arc has. That is like a spiritual type of shield that many souls, I think, try to penetrate and to grab information and confuse other people on top of the domain of Earth that we live in. So spirituality, it goes hands in hands too. I think Dani can talk to you about that, about mediumship, how that works and all that. So all these things, it connects, man. When you look at the history of how remote viewing or mediumship or psychics, and there's just different talents that people have that they can communicate, and
The
and when you interact with it together, information comes out. It's like amazing.
the effect of consciousness and the science of consciousness really has been swept under the rug. They locked it up and classified it
Yeah.
long 100 years ago. And they were aware of how consciousness affects our health and the world around us, and began using it for themselves in its classified information. And so now we're starting to see, the truth get out thanks to the internet and whistleblowers and things. But your consciousness actually is quite your mindset has a big influence on the universe around you and how it works. And they hide it from us. That's the big part. That's the big chunk of science that's missing. That's why quantum physics doesn't make sense, because they've taken consciousness out of it. And they know. The thing is, the top secret programs, they know that consciousness matters. And the arcs are something that are, a pure consciousness. I really love Elena's last few presentations, because she's covered just that the universe is made of, I want to say that she said, equal parts of energy, matter, and consciousness. And it's true. So consciousness is an integral part of the universe, the same as any other piece of matter. So that is, I think, the big thing that most people, then you take the normal populace, I think that's the big thing that they secretly know but don't know anything about. That your mind, how powerful your mind is, how big it is, and how much energy you put out when you think things, and that there really are no secrets. That's the other thing, is they give us a bunch of false cards, like it's they dangle something, go, no, no, it's over here, and that's what Hollywood's doing. We're secretly, when we sleep, our consciousness molds, we communicate, and some people are going into space, and our consciousness goes, wait a minute, there were people in space, and we know this on a subconscious level, and then so they give us a movie, so you go, oh, that was it, and you go back to sleep, so you forget about it, because secretly there are no secrets. There's no secrets. Everybody is communicating. Our consciousness, we're part of a larger pool, a larger thing. When we sleep and when we meditate, we have access. That's where this information comes from. And uh, I don't know. I don't want to make it the remote viewing episode, Danny. I'm happy to have him, but Remote viewing
No,
is the
it's
science
important.
of that. So you can unpack the science of it and the numbers and prove it. Like I have proof that it works every week. So,
Yeah.
that shows where consciousness really is worth.
Yeah, it was called remote viewing as a means to step away from the psychic ability that every single person has without exception. It was given a military term to try and make it more of a science, hardcore, hardware event. In actual fact, when you remote view or you psychically read, the skills are extremely similar. It's how you position, it's how you use the mental protocol to attempt to do the event you're about to do. Woo, I got goosebumps top to toe. But people underestimate the power that every single person has. We get awfully impressed with people doing these things, and some are a lot more practiced, like you are, Tony, a lot more practiced than most actual remote viewers. I am a lot more practiced than most clairvoyants I know because I came in with this. My very first memory, other than my birth, is being put back in my crib by an extraterrestrial whose name is Annex, who is an Egoroth. This is my very first memory. And so you recognize that JP and Tony and I, to the viewers out there, and many of you the same, we've had extraordinary experiences for such a time as this. And now each one of us on screen has a level and a layer of experiences and information to bring all of you to help you recoup your memories, put yourselves together, and recognize what to look out for. Where is the bullshit? Who are the liars? Who are the distractors? And who are the people you might have a chance of actually hearing to unlock something in you. Resonance doesn't lie. Energy doesn't lie. Truth doesn't lie. Even if you get triggered by the person talking, look beyond that. Look beyond that. What say you to that, JP, my love?
I believe that everybody carries a truth within, but they just have to discover the technique and how to do this in the right way, because you have to learn how to do this in the right way, because you can open up different doors in the spiritual realm that can affect you and your family. And like, for example, Tony, when you're doing the remote viewing, you did not know that ET was going to show up. So you really got affected. Like, wait, they're entering this section. So I have to figure out. And you really was looking like to figure out what the heck they're doing first before finishing the JP, my experience. So that's the thing about it, that rarely happens, right, Tony? When there's a interaction like that, or that happens every time.
No, it's very
Sometimes,
rare. It's very rare. For
well,
me,
you like if it's medium or channeling. I know a lot of people don't believe in channeling, but that happens. Um, but people do it, and then negative entities can enter, and you have to be really careful with the things that we don't see, and what you feel and how to do it. There's different. I'm sure Dani has a certain technique to do things in order to stay away from these negative entities that try to torment us sometimes at night, or these living things that really, really, we kind of know what they are, but we just keep our distance because the spiritual realm is real. I like to bring a lot about the spiritual realm because it's so real. If you do it the wrong way, it can backfire on you, and you and your family and friends can be in trouble. That's what I'm saying. So, and also the state of your mind when you go to these missions or prior of doing these remote viewing has to be like in a fastive type of uh level. When I say fastive, your body needs to be cleansed in a certain way. Your mind needs to be cleared in a certain way. Your eyes, what you last saw, has to be cleared in a certain way. Your experience in the last 2 weeks have to be settled in a certain way in order to have good feedback with this information that you give out. So it's a beautiful science. I think if more people get into it, um, I think more humanity will connect if they get into the science, the lost science of what is the consciousness and how it works and how it can affect everything around you.
Yeah, it's interesting. You raised some good points there, which will take us 2 weeks to break down, so we won't. But just to touch on it, one of the most that I know for a fact, and I'll spend my last days on this planet saying the same thing, that your greatest weapon, your greatest protection, your greatest anything against going into a room and being harmed by spiritual attack, let's say, is fear. When we have fear, we are at our weakest. When we are scared and fearful, that is when we are the most vulnerable. But on the other hand, you don't want to go running into a room of negativity and being arrogant and not knowing who the enemy is. However, even then, a strength is zero fear. If you have a job to do, you get in, you get out, but no fear at all. Like if anything wakes you up, like I was in this, I was in a retreat. I was staying at a mansion. It was a stately home. It was really beautiful the last week. And I wake up and there's a spook in my room. I was so angry because I cleared it, I'd blessed it, I'd said my prayers in this room. It was obviously active, this house. It's 15th century, whatever it is. And there's some dumb spook hanging there, some woman, in a beautiful dress, and she's obviously really attached to the building. She's what we call an earthbound. And she was there in her dress and her hair, it was all done up, it was dark, and she was just hovering by this ancient four-poster bed that I was laying in. And I was so angry. I had zero compassion that some friggin' ghost is in my room. They don't have a right. I don't care what your story is. I'm there to work. I'm working on my health. And I leap out of bed and I punch at it, but the same as I would a human. It's an instinct, it's instant. And as for a child, having been sent nasty things as a child to test that spiritual war that some of us clairvoyants or messengers or whatever you want to call us are in, we have these tests. And then for it to happen, I was just furious. And I was like, did I forget a level of protocol? And there wasn't any arrogance attached to it. It was that this being just wanted to be seen. And then I guess at this stage, what I learned from that was that part of me was open if there was something weaker then or something that wanted to be seen. But actually, I then updated my own kind of protections. Like, I don't want to know your story. If you're an earthbound spirit, the good times are coming, babe. It's like focus on what you want to focus on. So there's so many different ways to go here. But ultimately, on the spiritual side, as far as I'm concerned, zero fear. And I mean that with adults too. Adults can do a lot worse than a spook can. But you just have to be really zero fear. And as you guys know, and I, often say, and I want people to feel similar, like I have zero respect for bullies, for authority that dictates to me and my family. And I mean my human family, humans, my brothers and my sisters. And I'm glad and happily witnessing the taking down and the kneecapping of the leaders that were running our planet that no longer are. And we've been saying for years on this channel and others that those leaders are failing and falling and running like the rats they are. And so we're all going to be exposed to a lot more of who we are, what we have access to, and how to actually get there, right, guys? It's a really exciting time.
It is. It is.
It is. I think about often the big changes that'll happen after, after they disclose what's going on. We're gonna. There's a lot of fear out there that they're pushing on us about the way things will be organized, the energy, and the way people will be. There'll be a lot of things once we interact with other species. There's going to be big changes culturally for us. And I think about it all the time, and I think that that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think the biggest thing people should do is just concentrate on themselves, their own culture, and preserve it, whatever that might be, because we're going to get exposed to so many more. We see cultural problems in the world all the time, and they have their place. Everybody has their place, and they should be respected. But we're going to have so many new cultures here eventually after a disclosure that we have to make room for everybody's, and we have to preserve our own, not lose our own culture in the process, because we're going to be visited regularly. We're going to have people that come and have completely different systems of entertainment and what things they get, what things they enjoy, ways that they love, things that they believe spiritually. We're going to get all these different cultures after a disclosure. And so we have to preserve our own in a kind way and make space for new cultures. And so when you look at what's happening, I don't want to speak about it individually, but when you look at a lot of things that um, one side hates, so they've got us in the back and forth divide. They go, oh, these guys are the bad guys and these are the good. But they're both kind of steering us towards what's going to happen. And they're both on the same page of what's going to be. And so we're going to have areas of the world that have that right in our backyard that are very like another planet. And we have to preserve our own. So it's an exciting time. I'm excited about it all. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, just leave it at that. But this is stuff that's heavy on my mind. I also want to talk. I'm going to ask you a spot on this, Danny. I'm going to ask you a question about the GSIC UK. I've really been. It's a hot button subject for me, and I've been talking about it for months in my own groups I have groups that meet every week, and we talk about some of the disclosure issues. And the subject of good and evil came up, where we have a programmed false image of what's good, and we have a programmed false image of what's bad. And not to take away that there's not good and evil, but not in the way that we see it in so black and white. So it's about our position. And the people at the top don't believe in either. They're goal oriented. And so, having witnessed that culture, the what is it? The Society of Lucifer, the elites that are Luciferian, that are the thing is that, and you rightly called them the predator class. But I've studied that and I've studied into them recently, and I want to I want to breach the subject and talk about it. I don't know if that we'll talk about it, I guess, later. Um, but this is a big thing that people need to get their head around, because when they sell you that somebody is just the good guy, you kind of drop your guard and do what you're told. And so it's a very effective mindset to say these are always good, these are always bad. This is always bad. And you see it play out. We see this game play out ridiculously in the Middle East. But we have to get away from that and start saying, why are they doing this? What is the deal? A good and evil. We need to kind of look at the whole universe as what it really is, as part of a whole. That there's a positive and a negative energy, and they come together and create energy. And so we have to look at it, and obviously there are deeds that happen that are evil, that are bad, that need to be rectified, that people that have been under the radar. And I um I just think that we are in our infancy in the way that we believe about it. I
Mm.
see what I mean? It's already hard to
Yes.
talk about. Everybody, I can see the look on your face going, Tony.
Well, no, 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 no. I agree with you that the good and evil, what is that? It's at the perceiver's end of understanding, isn't it? It's our perception of what is good and evil, because the Society of Lucifer, they don't have a moral compass. They just get where they're getting. They just go where they're going. They just take what they're taking. They don't think about consequences either side. There is no side. It's just one goal. That's all they think about. They have to take out a family, they'll just take out a family. That it doesn't rest on them as a moral issue. There's nothing connecting. There's no conscience or no consciousness, or no science of awareness there at all.
That's
And
exactly
again,
right.
it's perception. I had a chat with my mum today, because in England, where I live, people hate Trump. They hate Putin. The mind washing here is so violently opposed to those guys. So I'm sitting with my mum and dad having a cup of tea on a Monday morning, and my mum, they gently broach the subject, because I'm a forceful person, and just as I am with you, with my parents as well. And my mum's like, well, what do you think about Trump turning Gaza into a hotel and beach? I'm like, Mum, it's not real. She's like, what do you mean? I said, here's what he did. I said, you got to remember, we're multi layers of everything. So we're sitting here in the 3D, and we're going, oh, apparently, according to the news media, Trump said, we're going to take over Gaza. We're going to move all the people out. we're going to turn it into hotels, and people fell for it. They believed that. In actual fact, what he did was he stuck his finger up at the Arab states and at Jordan. And now what are Jordan and Arabia and the Arab states doing? They're coming together to clean up. Job done. That's how Trump's playing. People are getting
Wow.
more used to it now. Someone said, my mum's like, oh my God, I never looked at it that way. I said, of course you didn't. Because we got multi layers. We got layers of multi dimensions happening at the same time. Trump is just a guy in a job surrounded by others, military, etc., guiding him. He's not a god. He's doing a job. The three of us, we're doing a job. Many people watching this are doing a job in disclosure. I heard another story about Trump. Apparently, he's sitting there with some Arab leaders saying, I want you to give up this man and he needs to come to the States. He's genocided many Americans and people that live there. And these Arab types are saying, there's no way we're doing that. You got to be joking. You're having a laugh. We're not doing that. So Trump left the room, comes back in, has a bit of paper. There's some coordinates written on that paper, the picture of a little house with a stick man inside it. And Trump sits there and he shows these guys that. He went, see that? He said, my boys can take out your leader in 0.2 of a second. Okay? These are the coordinates. And then he left the room. And then the Arabs folded and they had to give him what he wanted. I see him as a bit of a New York gangster at the moment. None of it's funny. I mean,
Yeah.
we can make a little light of it, right? It's no, this is the world being taken to task. And so,
I
he's, go ahead.
No, no, yeah, you're totally right, Donnie. But I think people need to read the art of the deal,
Uh,
that Donald Trump, in order to realize how he works and how he does things. That book, I think, will really show how he works and his strategies of how to get things. Um, I think this administration is going to be the best administration for the United States of America and help out also the world. I think this administration is going to bring technology that we never saw before in our life. We're probably going to jump like 200 or 300 years, depending of how this technology is released. I believe that JFK Jr. he's going to do an awesome job on the health side on this administration. I like the way also how um, Trump administration is helping the military, and that's a plus for me. So whoever helps the military and the veterans in the United States and help them out
yeah.
in every way, it's 100% for me. It's I vote for that person. So I think Trump, I know in the past, certain things people are scared of how he done things and all that, but this is the man right now for the United States, and America is gonna go through the golden age, and we have to be ready because not only America, the world is gonna benefit also with these technologies. And I'm sure, Russia has their disclosure part as well, China also, South America also. And I just think everybody's gonna implement uh
Yeah. Well,
living
it
as
takes
one humanity.
right. It takes somebody with a big pair of balls, I guess you could say right now that's him, to set an example of here's how we deal with, pedophilic, raping, murdering elites who've been proven to have done these things. I've got actual friends who've had things done by, terrible thing. Anyway, Kathy O'Brien, there's a name. She's speaking at our American conference, our American GISIC. But we're seeing the right things happening and the wrong people being smushed and removed, and that'll happen with regular people, let's say in the community. This is going to happen globally. And see, for me, as far as I'm concerned, I don't hero worship anybody. Don't tell me who you are. Show me what you are. Show me by your actions. And you mentioned the military. And if he really did, Trump reinstate on advice as well. Again, I won't. You can't give one person all that. Oh, Trump, oh, Trump. Oh, stop it. Let's get over that bullshit. That's what got us in trouble in the first place. Worshipping people, which I do not worship. But if he has back paid the men and women that didn't want to take the jab and lost their jobs and lost everything, and if he's given them, he along with military higher ups, their dignity, how beautiful. How beautiful. you know, right? Tony. Okay, right. Tony just stepped out for a second. Yeah, so that's a good thing. So, and are these things happening in the military? Is it true, JP? Are they actually doing this for people?
Like what? Like the
Back
the
pay,
vaccine thing?
reinstating them at the same or
Oh
higher
yeah, yeah,
level.
yeah. That's gonna happen. Yeah, it's gonna happen, and also it's gonna we're boosting right now in how many people are getting into the military in the United States. So once Trump hit office, it's like a boost of military people that went in the the military is growing. It's and I think we're gonna need that with the technologies and things in that we're gonna encounter, when these beings interact with us and we start interacting with them, they're gonna know our strength, we're gonna know their strength. So it's still, it's gonna be a exciting time for the military, for the civilians, because technology is always good. Look at right now, we're communicating in a cell phone that like 40 years ago or 30 years ago, this would never happen. We had to write letters and what go and buy a plane ticket and visit and record and then put it out there.
Yeah.
Right now we're just on a cell phone with a technology that it was probably passed down by ETs. And because if you study and look into these microchips that are in these phones, it's insane. It's insane how small or than a human hair the technology is. So where did they fish out this type of technology? Where did they
Right.
um interact it to get this type of technology? Because having a cell phone boosted our mind like 30%. So you got to look at a cell phone as an extension of our brain as well. We evolved having a technology that can extend knowledge, not only in our brain, but to our hands and to our visual cornea. So I see a cell phone as an extension of the brain, as we use it as a tool to get information and to communicate with each other telepathically using waves of frequencies. So it's amazing. And people don't see it like that, but technology is going to be insane, Donnie.
Well,
The type of technology that's going to come out, especially with this AI new thing that the government of the United States is going to invest in the middle of the country, and is going to come out with different algorithms to create different types of technology that is going to be mind blowing.
mhm. But we had all this technology. We had submarines. We had remote controlled submarines. We had Wi-Fi, wireless communication in 1897. Nikola Tesla. We had it all. And so yeah, you're right. Right now, we're saying 40 years ago, we were typewriting with carbon copies, no photocopiers. Yeah, but we already had this. And it's the people at the top, the bloodline families, the Illuminati, the cabal. It's them, the false royal families, the inbred bloodline families at the royal levels. This is where people are going to go mad when they figure out that the whole world has lied to the whole world via these little shitheads that ran everything, that stopped us. We've lost children, adults, we've lost young men and women that have been sent to war to be slaughtered because these tosspots created the world that we've been living in, and the technology that we have that was held back is, yeah, absolutely phenomenal. It's phenomenal and it's going to be so beautiful. And I can't wait for that. But some people get very childish because they're only engaged in how they've been MK Ultra'd. It's not everyone's fault. They don't know how to respond because often the thought is, where are the med beds? Where are the med beds? Well, you are a bloody med bed. You wouldn't believe how much healing you're able to do on your own. We've got to stop waiting for this and waiting for that. But we need to be getting on with our inner healing, don't we? Getting on with the trauma of the past, getting on with all the upsets, getting released from the emotions, because it's the emotions that stuff you up for definite, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. The emotions is that gets you moving in life and makes you search for the truth. It is your emotion that makes you search for where humanity is going to be and how humanity is going to affect other civilizations around our solar system and around the universe. So we just have to be ready and have our hearts ready and our mind ready to interact and to receive these types of technologies and science, new science.
It's true. Negative emotions are sticky. And so they rub off on you. There's an emotional hygiene that people don't give any, like I said, because they've hidden consciousness from us as a legitimate science and as a legitimate thing for what it really is. They ignore it. They say that animals don't have consciousness, and on and on and on through the medical field. It's mind blowing what they're trying to
Yeah,
get away with, and people follow it because that's the authority. But the reality is everything's conscious. Literally
yeah,
all it's all one. We're all made of one thing. And so you can have bad negativity that they instill on us. Like you look at, you don't have to watch TV for long before you see an act of total violence and gore. And so
yeah,
these negative emotions get weigh you down and they make it sticky and it rubs off and it stunts your growth. While at the same time, they are not partaking in that entertainment, that state of mind. And that's how we see the difference. So our emotions are sticky. Our consciousness is sticky. Birds of a feather. And you know the old adage, like I can see where you're going to go by what your friends are. It's true. And so your consciousness it's has a gravity. Your emotions have a gravity to them. So very cool. I wanted to say this that we were talking about the AI, JP. You brought up the AI that they're gonna the Project Stargate, the big funding, and a
yeah,
lot of people at arms were really afraid of AI. We're taught to fear it. And
yeah.
the thing that I really don't like, we had Elena on the show. Remember the last one, and I was talking about the implants, and she said that she had talked about the way the implants work. There's got to be a happy medium at some point, and we're going to have to embrace the technologies that are coming. The
Yeah.
AI is a necessary thing, like nuclear power. People didn't want nuclear power because it makes bombs, but we just have to be a grown up. You can't give a child a lighter and leave them alone in the house and think good things are going to happen. But when they grow up, they can handle fire. And so it's the same way with AI. It's the same way with nuclear, all the technology. Any technology can be
Yep.
used for great evil. There's that word, good or evil. And really, it's about the perspective and the maturity of the person. You know what I mean? Like there's a maturity. One thing that I wanted to talk about, I wanted to touch on, back to the good and evil thing, is that the elites, Danny, like you said, the predators that do whatever they want, they harm children and they kill people left and right, they do whatever, they're goal oriented. The fallacy that they have that makes them, by our definition, evil is that they are not the same as us energetically. They feel a disconnect from the rest of the universe, from source, from the whole universe. They say, it's me and I'm in charge and I need to get more powerful. And you're all dead. You're all dead to me. And they don't have an empathy. They don't experience love the way we do. And that's the big lie that lets them do what they do to be predators. The reality is what most people know, which is why you would never trap billions and billions of dollars in your pocket. You would help people. You would help out other people. So we all stay at that level where we're at because we realize that we are the same thing. We are part of the same being. And so we have empathy and we don't. So the average person doesn't have a mind to exploit people on a grand scale and not give money and give aid where it belongs. So that's what we see the difference between the elites and the rest of society. Most of society on some level knows that they're all part of each other. We're the same being, we're the same entity. And the elites think that they're different, and that's the lie they're living. So that's my take on what good and evil really is. And we have to appreciate the universe for what it is. It gives us people like that so that we can grow.
That's the
Interesting.
goal. That's the goal, to be also like if I ever get financially well, I'm gonna help so much people. The more people you help, the more that beautiful energy you receive, the more life you receive when you help other people. Um, when you help other people realize the truth, when you help people realize their inner self and the potential that they carry in this world. it comes back to you as a positive thing, when you help out and you give your spark to help them spark their own spark and interact with each other. And it's going to be an amazing ride, Donnie. It's going to be an amazing ride. And I just hope uh, people can feel that when they go to GSIC and see us on stage and bring this information and this beautiful love to everybody, and that JSIC that I came out, I felt so much love, Donnie, with everybody and everybody in the same mindset that it was a beautiful feeling. I think I wish this could be felt worldwide, and I'm sure I'm sure soon that will happen.
Yeah, no, it was great when you came out on stage at GSIC. It was so amazing. And just to remind people again, if you want to see Tony Rodriguez and JP, Dr. Michael Sala, the great Elena Danan, Alex Collier, I mean, gosh, Praveen Mohan from India, who's been exposing what's hidden on the hieroglyphs in all of the ancient temples. We've got Nikki Allen. We've got so many great people, guys. If you want to see these people at a GISIC, here's the logo again, just to show you the hands holding the world, the beautiful, loving hands holding the loving world. We got two. We got May 10th and 11th. May 10th and 11th in England. Details on the website underneath this video. And also in America, Charlotte, North Carolina, September 19, 20, and 21. And in the American GISIC, we're going to have, as well as these two guys, myself hosting, Elena Danan, Dr. Michael Sala, Nikki Allen, Praveen Mohan flown in from India there too. And we're having Alex Collier. Alex Collier! Alex Collier! I got him back again this year to speak in America at the American GISIC. He'll be there on stage. Ooh, just saw a little flying orb over here somewhere. And who else do we have? Kathy O'Brien, the biggest whistleblower from the Pentagon and the White House in the last 40, 50 years. So it's going to be amazing. So it's GISIC, galacticspiritualinformers.com, galacticspiritualinformers.com. Yes, that came off the table. I wish I'd taken one for myself. Your wife stole a UFO. I should be having words with your wife when I see her. I'll be like, you put that in your bag.
And I'm gonna bring that. We're gonna sell this. We're gonna
Oh,
sell
it's hilarious.
this for GSIC.
That's so funny. Was that GISIC 2023 we had those, or was it 22?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah, that was the first GSIC I visited. So
22.
that's really special.
Yeah, I had that on the tables in the dinner and dance, the dinner and the disco. It's brilliant. My team is so good. My beautiful team, Amanda and Jeff and Rebecca, that sourced those. But yeah, so okay, so they're the GISICs, Galactic Spiritual Informers, May in England, America in September, and between then and now, like this Saturday, like 3 days away, 4 days away, we've got the webinar, JP and Tony. Tony, how do they get you? Say it because somebody doesn't always look underneath to get the website. What's the website?
That's a good question. It's on Crowdcast. So you can currently find it on JP's Instagram and mine and our Facebook. And I'll post that again. And on this video, I'll give you the link so we can do it. So I'm going to show this. There's the graphic. I don't know if this is in the way, but it's on
My
Crowdcast. It's February 15th at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. And the website is a great question. It's a Crowdcast link. So I'll provide the link so we can get that on there. Um, I'm stoked about it. Like I said, I've been doing Q&As for a long time on my Patreon, and they always turn out well every time. And so to have JP there, a lot of people I know want to know more about what he's lived. And so I think we're going to run out of time before we run out of questions on that. I really do. So we'll
That
go a
would be
few
awesome.
hours, 2, 3 hours. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah.
I love it. I love it. My gorgeous, handsome brothers, my space brothers from another space mother. So good to have you guys. Love you so much. Thank you. And
Love you
good luck
too.
with the webinar. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be so great. And again, you guys are working so hard to connect with our brothers and our sisters out there and bring them as much information and help as you possibly can. And again, if they can't come to a conference, they can certainly get to you this way. So to you, beautiful, beautiful audience, beautiful brothers and sisters out there, sending you so much love from our hearts to yours, and we'll see you soon.
Akuria mate.
Korea Mate.
Kuria mate.
Push. Mission arm is out there. I'm going to get the pro. 99, proceeded. 3, 2, 1. Ignition. On our way, Houston. Vector good. Mag start. Mission order. I hear you. That's right. Mission arm is out there.